Good morning and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Shadow Master Bluddworth, and as you can see by the graphics, I am going to be doing a play test using Roll20 of ShadowDark. So I'm going to start doing some setup of it. Now, I've been having trouble finding a character sheet that really does completely work over, and cross over to Shadow Dark. Since Shadow Dark does not yet have its own character sheet built in on Roll20, hopefully Kelsey Dion can get around to having somebody do that. If she doesn't have the ability to program that into our Roll20, and hopefully it happens before the end of the Kickstarter. That way, we really can start testing out the game system as it is released, and we have the quick start rules, and I'd like to do some play tests using the quick start rules. Now, I have found a character sheet. I'm using the character sheet of Knave. However, in order to get those modifiers to match up with what is in Shadow Dark, I have to just go with what the modifier is from Shadow Dark and then adjust the attribute score to match up with the modifier. Is that going to change things around? Probably yes. But it's I think that it's a sacrifice worthy of making for the purposes of just testing the system out, again, until an actual Shadow Dark character sheet is uploaded onto Roll20. So without further ado, let's get right into this. I am going to switch screens and make sure I'm on the right page. So I've loaded up 4 character blank sheets here. The other thing I like about Knave's character sheet is that it has the equipment slots up to 10, actually really up to 20, but that's adjustable, which Shadow Dark uses. So, the base is 10 slots, but strength will determine more. I'm going to use the method that Kelsey Dion used in her own character generation. So it's going to be, 3d6 across the board. So starting with strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. I will make the modification just to match the modifiers. So, um, so we're going to go with that because I don't have an alternative at this time. So strength for this character is a 14. So a 14 strength. All right, and a 14 strength is a +4. A 14 strength normally would only be a +2, so I'm going to modify that afterwards. Okay, it's the modifier I'm focusing on, not the actual score itself. A 10 for dexterity, so that can remain a 10. Next is an 8 for intelligence. Next is a 12 for wisdom. And finally, it is a 10. So, fairly straightforward character. I'm going to have to modify that strength modifier here. It's not really supposed to be a +4. It is supposed to be just a +2. So I can actually lower this strength until I get to a +2, and that would be a 12. All right. An 8 would only be a -1, so I'm going to get that there. A wisdom of 12 is actually a +1, not a +2, so I believe I'll have to drop that down. I'm just getting the modifiers to where they need to be. So instead of a 14, I've just toned it down to here. So now the pluses actually matter. and or minuses. So that's the first character. A 12, a 10. I mean, maybe this could be a fighter. I'm not quite sure yet. So I'm going to hold off on character. I'm going to hold off on character 1. So now I'm going to bring up character number 2. And let's see what character number 2 ends up with. And again, I am modifying. So character 2, will pop up. Character 2 has a 9. All right, and again, I'm going to modify. Oh, actually, a 9 is a -1 stat, so that works out here. Next roll is a 13. So a dexterity of 13. Perhaps this will be a thief, although it's not going to be a +3. It's only going to be a +1. So I'm going to tone that down until it's a +1, but I'll wait. Next is going to be an 11. Next is going to be a 9. And finally, it's going to be a 12. All right, so let's double check these. So the 9 is a -1 modifier. A 13 is not a +3. It's only a +1. So I think I have to lower this down to an 11. An 11 Constitution is only supposed to be a +0. A 10 is fine. The 9 is fine at -1, and the charisma of 12 is only supposed to be a +1. So I'll lower that. So now the modifiers are matching. This could still be a thief. So I am going to tentatively put this as thief unless I get a better. Let's go to number 3. And here we go. An 11. Next, a 9. Next, a 9. A 10 stays the same. A 13 wisdom. This could be our cleric. And finally, a 10 charisma. So this is going to be a cleric. Or actually, it's called a priest. So I am going to name this priest. And I have to adjust the modifier. So an 11 strength is still a 0. So that's going to come down to a 10. So 0 modifier. The 9 is fine. The 9 is fine. The intelligence is fine. The wisdom is only supposed to be a +1. So I'm going to drop that to an 11. And the charisma is fine. All right, so that's our priest. And finally, we have one more character to roll. And let's see which character. So we kind of need an intelligent character here for our magic user or wizard. So let's do, and let's see. So an 11 strength. 14 dex. Ooh, this might be a better thief. A 5 constitution. All right. A 10 intelligence. a 10 wisdom, and a 12 charisma. Whew. This might be... This might be a better thief than the other, although, I don't know. I'm going to go with making this the wizard. I'll have to take a look at that first character sheet and see. The first character sheet, I think, was a fighter. I got to clear these out. Yeah, this is definitely a fighter. Okay. So now we have our 4 characters. Basically made up and modified. Oh, a constitution of a 5 is only a -3. So I have to increase this until it's a -3. There we go. And a strength of an 11 is a 0, so it's only going to be a strength of a 10. And the intelligence of a 10, 10, and a 12 is not a +2. A 12 is only a +1, so that becomes 11. So I've made the adjustments to reflect the modifiers and not so much the scores. A 14 dexterity is only a +2, so that's going to come down to a 12. All right, so that's what I did here intentionally, is to focus more on the modifiers than the actual scores. So next up is, let's take a look at our fighter now. We're going to go back to fighter here, and I'm going to take a look at their backgrounds. So our ancestry. So if this is a dwarf fighter, he will get he or she, I should say, will get a +2 hit points roll, and you roll your hit point gains with advantage. So you'll start with +2. Yeah, all modifiers for Constitution for hit points, they all start with a. It's only for the first level that they start, and you roll for that start as well. So we're going to take a look at the fighter, and we're going to roll his starting hit points. So fighters get a D8 roll. So I am just going to roll a D8, hope for high, and put that in. Holy crap. So his starting hit points is a 1. I better make this a dwarf fighter, so that his starting hit points is going to be, fighter, dwarf. All right, so he's going to get +2 to that, and his con is no, so he is going to start with 3 points. All right, and he is a dwarf character. Alignment, I'm going to make his alignment lawful. Not that it really matters too much. So he is a dwarf fighter, and he has 3 hit points currently. Now, there are some other rolls that I'm going to make on here. So they get a, and I will show you this. I'm going to switch screens really fast here. So here is the fighter, and I'm just going to read off to you. So they have all weapons, all armor. Their hit points are D8 per level. You add your Constitution modifier, if positive, to your gear slots. That's a hauler. So he's still only going to have 10, I believe, gear slots instead of using strength for it. Weapon mastery, he'll gain +1 in a weapon type of choice. Grit, choose strength or dexterity. You have advantage on checks of that type to overcome opposing force, such as kicking open doors and so on. And then I'm going to roll 2d6 to choose a talent here. Dwarves or any other demi-humans only get one roll on this to start, and then humans do get double that amount. So let's go back to our screen here, and I am going to roll under his talents, right? So I'm going to roll 2d6. So 2d6, and let's see what talent he ends up with. A7. So A7 is +2 to strength, dexterity, or constitution stat. Well, that's going to be a biggie. So I am going to add, now will a 12 constitution give me a bonus? Or will I be better off with like a 14 strength? So I'm going to look back at my my chart here. A 12 is going to give him a +1 for hit points and such, and a 14 strength would give him a +2. He already has the +2, so I am going to give him the Constitution bonus of the +1. Again, working more so on the modifier. So the con bonus, so now his hit points is going to be 4 instead. All right, still fairly low, you know, a low average on that. So I'm going with that. All right. So, and I'm going to put in here in his notes that his talent was +2 to STRCON or DEX, and he chose CON. All right, I'll also put down that he is a dwarf under the notes, which I had up here too. So next one up. And his slots, his match slots, they put to 11. Oh yeah, that actually matches, because as a fighter he will get, so he has 11 slots because of Hauler. I should put that also. Hauler. All right. All right, so plus CON slot for carry. Okay. I'm glad that it automatically added that in there. Great. All right, next one up. Let's go to our thief. So here is our thief, and we are going to roll 2d6. Actually, let's see what our thief would be best as. So if I do halfling, I would only get one roll. I might go with a human, just to get that second roll on the thing, because there's no huge advantage here for anything. So I'm going to go with thief, human ancestry, and I'm going to get 2 rolls rather than just 1. So let's go here, and I'm looking at the thief chart now. So thieves only get a D4 for hit points. They can backstab, they can climb, obviously. They have thievery skills. They're limited in weapons. They have no attribute modifiers unless I roll for it. So let's do the first and rolled a 7. So that's going to be the same thing, right? So talent is going to be a +2 to STR, DEX, or CON. And so a dex of, I got to keep this over here so I don't keep on messing that up. So if his dex goes to a 13, he would get a +1. He's already at a +1, so I'm not going to alter that. If his dex, if his strength goes to an 11, he'll get a plus. He'll get a 0. And if his, was it constitution? Oh, charisma. Charisma goes up. So charisma, this should be CHR. So if his charisma goes up, a 13 charisma is only going to give him a +1. I think he was already there, so I'm going to just put it in strength. All right, so he chose strength. Okay, and his second roll, because he is a human. So I'm rolling 2d6, and his second roll is a 9, and it's that same thing again, right? So now he can do essentially the same thing to any of those. So instead of 11, he would have a 13 strength, and a 13 would still only give him a +1. So I'm going to put it into dex this time. And originally he was a 13. This is going to bring him to a 15, the equivalent of a +2. So I'm going to do that. Instead of a +2, I'm going to drop it down 1. All right. So so that's my thief now. So his second roll is going to be, but he chose dex the second time around. And hit points, only rolls a d4. Let's see, a 2. Not a lot of hit points in this game. All right, next one up. Let's go with my priest. And here we go with the priest. We are going to roll. We're going to roll. I'm going to go with human again, because I think it's kind of important to have those 2 talents at the very beginning. So they get a d6 hit points. So let's see what his hit points are. A 2. Any con bonus? He gets a -1 due to his con. So he only has a 1. And hopefully we can roll for a modifier on that con. So I'm rolling my 2d6 now. An 8. An 8 is going to be a +1 to priest casting. So +1 to priest casting. And my second roll, 2d6, is a 6. +1 to melee or ranged. I'm going to go with a +1 to melee attacks. All right. So I have a cleric that is not very hardy. Um, it's going to get to 10 equipment slots. So that's not going to change. That's the minimum. Uh, Even though his con would have given him a -1 or his strength, he'd have it based on his strength. So it would be a 10. So last character up. Now, of course, he's only going to have 2 first level spells as well. So I'll actually type that in here before I go. Spells 2 level 1 spells. And finally, last but not least, our wizard. Oh, I mean, the priest was a human priest. Let's see, wizards. Let's see if there's a +1 bonus to spell casting. So I'm going to make this wizard an elf. All right, so I will make this wizard an elf. And I'm going to roll let's roll his hit points. And of course, he has a 3. Amongst the best rolls to start. His con of a 7, though, is going to give him a -2. Actually, I have to reduce his con. Raise it till he gets a -2. All right, so he has a -2. So actually, he only has 1 hit point as well. And let's get to, so he is an elf. And I'll fill in those stats later. Let's see what his 2d6 roll does. 4 and a 4 is an 8. An 8 is, for the wizard class, a gain advantage on casting 1 spell that you know. He has 3 first level spells, so he's going to have advantage with 1 known spell as his talent, and his spells, he has 3 first level spells, all level 1 spells. I'll keep it level 1 spells. So there we have it. We have our 4 very challenging class characters to. So the priest was a human. 4 very challenging characters to play. We have a fighter with just 4 hit points at first level, only a +2 modifier for strength, although he does get some advantages with those as well. Then we have a thief with just 2 hit points. We have a priest with just 1 hit point, and we have an elf, a wizard with just 1 hit point. Now, the benefit of this, though, is that those negative constitution modifiers only affect the first level. So they're not going to have to deal with them again once they get to second level, if they survive to second level. These are going to be real tough to play, but it's part of the playtest, and so it doesn't so much matter if they survive past the first playtest. But it's it'll be interesting to see. I mean, that is the one real old school element of ShadowDark, is that, you kind of have to go with the roles that you have. Now, this would certainly be made much simpler if there is if there's eventually a ShadowDark character sheet on Roll20. So, you know, love to see it before the love to see that before the Kickstarter is over. But looks pretty cool. It's going to be, I think, a lot of fun to actually play this, and it's great to play challenging characters. You know, characters that have very low survivability and everything. You have to manage your resources a lot better when you're doing that. You have to, um, you know, you have to think. You have to make your decisions have to be much smarter decisions, and you know, I think it also builds capacity within the player for the concept of losing characters, because that can certainly happen as well. So hope you like this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section. If you know of a character sheet that'll work better than the one that I was using again Knave for this, but if you know a better one to use, I tried Beck Me, it wasn't going to work out either. You couldn't even modify, although the technique I used here to modify and just match up with the modifier rather than the actual score. Um, and maybe there's a different way of doing that. That would be great. I wish I could just either create a whole new one and just put the modifiers in there separately, or um, you know, or there's another one out there that I'd be better using for. I will take a look at the index card RPG one and see if that works better. But I have a feeling that the -4 to +4 stat bonuses and how they're connected to the stats that are actually rolled here in ShadowDark might not have a match out there in other OSR games, but correct me if I'm wrong. That would be very helpful for me to take a look at it again. And I will run with these characters for the first playtest, and then I will re-roll using a different character sheet if that's a better solution. So thanks for joining. I hope you liked this video. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. It's Friday, so it's almost a new weekend, and I will have another video coming up a little bit later to kind of do my AD&D recap of Tuesday night's game, because I haven't done one of those in quite a while, and I want to talk a little bit about where our campaign is going. So, as always, enjoy, stay safe, and enjoy your weekend coming on up. Take care.